All right, we're recording.
I'm thinking we don't need to do the after show rundown because I don't think we posted anything new that we didn't talk about yesterday. All right.
Yeah, we can talk. We
So
can talk Friday, but we don't need to record this then either. That we're not going to do anything. So for anyone watching this, we're just discussing that we're
that's
not going to
right.
do anything.
We're editing it though. I thought we're editing. No, no, we don't
No,
edit
I
them.
just
We don't
upload
edit.
these things raw as
Got it.
is,
I
so
totally
that the whole
forgot about
world can
that.
see that we're planning on not doing something after.
So welcome to the secret podcast. This is a special episode of the Mandalorian review, and I think through our own text thread, we enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah.
Jordan, would you like to go first and bless us with your comments and opinions?
Yeah, yeah. My opinions are always a blessing, aren't they? Um, it's great. It was a good episode. I liked it a lot.
Simon, are you next?
No, I want to hear what Jordan has to say.
There was more.
No, it's kind of got it all this episode. So
Yeah.
there's been high points in the previous episodes. This feels like a really complete. It's got a little bit of the mystery and adventure and a little action and world building, and they go to a new planet and Jack Black runs it.
So great.
Did not expect that. That was fun. It's got cameos, but they're surprising and fun cameos. It's not just like here's a character from that one episode of that TV show that you didn't watch, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, here's Jack Black. Okay.
Yeah.
He's king of this robot world. And it was fun while also having a little bit of substance to it. So, I mean, I'll hand it over to Simon in a bit so he can grace us with his brief opinion. But
He's gonna make it about God and Jesus again. Here we
Oh,
go.
just you wait.
so you can
Just
get
you
into
wait.
the religious studies. But to focus on critical theory for a second, this
That should be the foundation. Yes.
yeah, to focus on the review, we really get to see a lot. I mean, I guess this has been happening the whole time, but I feel like this episode it really it came into the spotlight for me while watching it, which is like Mando and Bo-Katan and them just like good cop nice cop all over the galaxy. And it's interesting to see them kind of switch places where like she clearly is not very good at dealing with people, maybe because she was raised as royalty and she's used to people just taking orders all the time. And Mando shows that he is very very good at diplomacy when he wants to be, right? Like he's really good at kind of learning how different cultures work and then figuring out how to like negotiate them, with the exception of one thing, which is droids, because he just freaking hates droids. Apparently he's racist against droids. And I want to get into that more later, but yeah, there's that scene in the droid bar, again, very very Star Wars. I'm hearing an echo of my voice. Is that me? You guys hear that?
I hear it, but I'm not
You
sure
got
how
me?
to fix it
Okay.
because I muted myself and I thought it worked for a little bit, but
Oh.
maybe not.
No, I don't. Okay. Well, anyway, it's gone now. Anyway, yeah, good episode, and I liked the dynamic between the characters. Bo-Katan continues to be a really interesting character. The dynamic between them is really interesting, and something we should definitely talk about more in a bit. Bryce Dallas Howard directed this episode, and I think we have enough of a sample size now to say with confidence that Bryce Dallas Howard does not miss, because she's directed the best episode of like every season. She's directed like the 4 best episodes of the whole thing. She directed the one really good episode of the Book of Boba Fett. And there's a lot of similarities I think with that episode, in this one. But yeah, Simon, please tell us how this ties into myth making and the history of religion or something.
All right, you guys ready? No, see, like now you guys got me on spot, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna BS it now. No, I'm just kidding. I just want to say I love the episode. I thought in full agreement with everything that you said, Jordan. The guest stars and cameos are phenomenal, and I think that I can see potentially why having a show for Star Wars would work so much better than like having a movie like this, right? So like we've seen guest stars in this season like Tim Meadows before.
Mm-hmm.
Like there could be great potential of just like these one-shot cameos and guest star takes.
Right.
That would just liven my day. Like watching Lizzo and Jack Black and Christopher
right.
Lloyd. Freaking Christopher Lloyd.
That caught me off guard.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Back to the Future. That's all I know, you know. But like,
Yeah.
and the fact that he's a separatist, right? And I was like, holy, okay, so they're diving.
So he
deep
starts
here.
ranting about Count Dooku, which I
Exactly.
thought was pretty funny. That,
Exactly.
Oh, here's the guy. Here's the guy who takes Count Dooku seriously. So they're out
Right.
there.
They're out there. Yeah.
Exists.
That what is that show? Not Visions, but the other one that gave us the origin of Ahsoka and Count Dooku.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd's character that was like one of the very few that watched that show.
Yeah.
You know.
That
So,
was for
but
him.
anyways, yeah, all good. I really like that buddy cop. It was a mystery. Basically, the synopsis of this was a mystery. They needed to figure out why some of these droids were acting up, and we saw that
turned into
dynamic.
Blade Runner for about 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm glad that you said that because it felt familiar to me, but I was just like, this feels like Blade Runner. You
Right.
know? So
The Echo is back.
yeah, I hear it.
Okay.
Overall, all good. And so now here's my take. Darksaber. In the beginning, I thought, you know what, we don't need the Darksaber anymore because we have a mythosaur to unite everyone. I found it very interesting that Bryce Dallas Howard basically fitted in and made it work in connection to the mythosaur. So not only is there a older myth of the mythosaur to unite all Mandalorians, but they still use the current practice of besting the person and whatnot. But at the same time, Din Djarin switches up the tradition, and that's amazing to me. That's very cool. The very fact that the whole idea is you don't have to fight off to the death anymore, but the fact that he kind of reinterprets the tradition and says, hey, she saved me, you know, and so she bested me in that way. This makes a better dynamic of unification, and I want to talk about the Darksaber because the Darksaber is basically Excalibur, right? And in these great stories, in these great myths, you always need to have a mystical weapon or a weapon entrenched in tradition, right? And that's the thing that kind of like provides a beacon or like a flag, if you will, for others to come together under the stead or under the what's the word? To convince people to say, hey, no, this is a legitimate thing. They always did that. They always believed that. That's why they had the Darksaber tradition. But I found that I was reminded of that when I heard that. And it brought up a story in the Bible about David. It's an obscure story, but he goes to the tabernacle and he speaks to Zadok, I believe, the high priest of the time. Zadok basically, in essence, gives him his blessing to become king. But not only is the blessing there, he also takes Goliath's sword, and it's an obscure story. No, it gets overlooked all the time, but that's the key point. The idea is that you need a king that is not only blessed by the religious group, but you also need a king who has a giant slayer, and that's what we saw with Bo-Katan, right? So Bo-Katan has become, she's become officially, she's gotten the blessing of the armorer, which is a priestess figure, and now she has the Darksaber. Everything's in order. And then the other thing is Plasavir, that planet, is gonna partner with them and say, hey, we'll consider Mandalore a sovereign nation and give you a good name in the New Republic. Everything's falling into place, and this is amazing, and I'm excited.
Everyone, please wake up. He's done now.
The Echo's back. I don't know how we fix that. I'm not really sure. I tried turning stuff off on my side. Nothing's
It's okay.
working.
It's okay.
I bet it's me. Watch. Let me mute.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It is George. It is Josh. I'm gonna mute myself and eat some chips now.
You guys got to fix your AV situation.
I think what I need to do is put headphones on because I think it's picking up my TV speaker.
Mm-hmm.
But
You got to get some professional equipment, guys, like the
I know
Yeti and
once our
stuff.
sponsors start paying us, because it's ridiculous that they haven't yet,
Once we get some
or just giving
sponsors.
free advertisement,
Yeah.
then I'll for sure, because we're getting big bucks,
Right. We need some
big,
advertisers. Yeah.
big dollars. Yeah, we need advertisers too.
Simon needs to talk to his family. The only people who listen to this podcast and ask if
Yeah.
there's anything they need to sell. Furniture.
I feel like Manscaped is always, it's everywhere.
Right.
So, I mean, we're open to manscaping.
Or Audible.
Audible.
Yeah. Or hymns for pills, like hymns for men pills. I'm down. I could always use those.
Huel. See, I feel like I hear Huel is something I see a lot.
Fuel,
Athletic
yeah,
greens.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just add hot water and you got a full meal.
There's
TurboTax.
got to be an up and coming mobile real time strategy game that needs some selling, right? I feel like I see a new one of those every week. The opportunities
Masterclass.
are out there.
Nothing. There. I mean, I think our commentary, our opinions, our takes are on the level of masterclass. Like, it goes well with our show. So,
All right, then we need to talk to Masterclass. That's what we need to talk about.
So I love the show. I think I know, I don't think. I started off thinking like, oh, it's going to drag on. It was like, well, if you want to see the Mandalorians, you got a side quest that we need you to do. And I was like, oh, dang it.
Another
I do this
side
all the time in
quest.
Skyrim, dude. I don't want this. And I was like, and then the cameos hit and I was like, oh, yeah, it's well worth it. Well worth it. The bot chase, that was a great chase. And then being in the droid cantina, that was fantastic as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the payoff. I didn't expect them to meet the Mandalorian crew in this episode. I thought this episode was just gonna be the task of the bots. So the payoff was great, and it was a huge payoff at that.
That was a great. So that was a cool fight. Like, it wasn't huge, but like
Right.
it was cool watching them fight with their gadgets, their weapons. Simon's bored because we're talking
practical,
too much
right?
about the plot and the story now, and not enough about the religious implications. Oh, he's back. But yeah, there was one shot where they're on the wing of one of the ships they're fighting, and what's his face? Axe Wolf.
Yeah.
they're just making up the craziest names for these guys. Axe Wolf throws Bo-Katan off, and she kind of spins around and uses her little grapnel to hook him, pulls him off. And I was like, that's maybe the coolest. That single shot might be the coolest shot I've seen so far this season. Like, that's just like, that is a sick Batman level gadget combat move, right? And I'd love to. I'm happy. I want to see more of that. I want to see as much of that as they can squeeze into this, because they got all this stuff, right? They got the utility belt. They may as well use it. So.
My favorite move was Bo-Katan's like rocket ultimate drop kick to. I was like, holy! That should put a hole in his chest, dude. No way he wakes up from that. Like, she just said, blasted off like 40 feet, reversed it, killed the engine, and just drop kicked the dude. I was like, he is not getting up. He folded in half. His spine is broken. There's a hole in his chest.
He's got armor. I think they can take some hits.
Yeah, no, but that was a great move. That was a great fight scene. And then it was like, I was like, okay, yeah, she won this crew, but like, they don't respect her. And Din Djarin's like, yeah, you do, because she now has a lightsaber. No, you can't just give it to me. Oh yeah, well, I was kidnapped.
Yeah,
she used my Darksaber. Dude, that beast was creepy. Whatever that thing was,
the eye.
I don't know if there's like a lore from it at all anywhere else. I've never heard or seen it.
I looked around online. I couldn't find anything.
It's
Dude,
General Grievous's cousin.
It could be.
That's what it was.
It probably was.
That.
Yeah.
Or it could have been General. Maybe it was General Grievous's like pet at some point, or like he worked on it. I don't know, but that was a menacing creature thing, and she handled it by herself, like, without the help of anybody, with the Darksaber, and she
Yep.
made that Darksaber look like it was a toothpick, dude. She was just flinging that thing around,
Right.
and so by default, she got it back, and that was just a great feeling,
It's
because I
another
think
it was another example of what they've been building through the episode of like, but he's a diplomat. Like he's
right,
he's like, all right, they got these rules around the Darksaber, yada yada yada. He thinks it's silly, right? I think from his perspective, it's like because he's got his own rules around the helmet, never taken off and stuff.
right.
So like he can kind of respect other cultures' rules, even if they don't make sense to him. Because like, well, I got my thing, they got their thing, whatever, right? Just gotta work with it. You gotta find some common ground. And so like he does. He's like he understands like, okay, here's the rules of the Darksaber. It was taken from me in combat, and then she took it from this other guy in combat, right? So by the what is it in math, property of transference, whatever. Basically, it is now her Darksaber, right?
Yeah, finders keepers. That's
Yeah,
what that is.
and then they'll look at each other and they're like, oh yeah, okay, and he's like, all right, you happy now, right? Like we all got what we wanted here.
I loved how Axe Wolf's face was like, I don't get it, but
He had to
yeah,
think
sure,
about
why
it.
not?
He was
Let's do this.
putting together in his head. He was drawing a little diagram.
The law of transference. It's
The
like
ownership
oh,
of the Darksaber, yeah. And he was like, oh yeah, okay, yep, it checks out.
this
Yeah,
works. I get
and
this.
I love that transition, because it really showed that the Mandalorian people, or her people, I think they really wanted her to be the leader. As much as that guy really wanted it and he earned it, he deserved it. He led them to whatever they're doing at this point. He led them there. Um, like they just, even though it sounds dumb, like what Mando said, they're just like, okay, yeah, she needs to be the leader. She's hands down the leader. You know what I mean? Like she's the one.
I think it's the promise of retaining Mandalore, right? Because they all seem pretty content to be like mercenaries, but if there's a chance that they can bring Mandalore back, right? Like and she can lead them on that journey, they're willing to take a chance on that. It's now they've got a couple people saying, yeah, you can go back. It's not poisonous or whatever. I forget what they were
Right.
saying in the first episode, like, but you couldn't go back, you'll die, yada yada. But he's like, no, we've been there.
I
You
was
know,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that opportunity, like that's something that they thought they would never have. And so like, yeah, if that's something that they can attempt, then they're gonna take a shot at it. What do you guys think about the droids? So I don't know if you guys have read Droids, the comic book. Okay, so this
No.
was like before the sequels and the reset and everything. There was a comic book series published by Dark Horse called Droids, and it's about R2D2 and C3PO leading a droid rebellion. Because a bunch of droids get sick of serving people and being mistreated, so they lead a rebellion. Which obviously this episode had some inspiration from, I think. Um, and I was actually really surprised when they go into that bar and this guy's like, look, I mean, we're happy to serve humans because like they create us, and what do you say? They ask so little of us, and I did kind of realize like, yeah, I guess because like you see them doing manual labor all the time, but I guess for a droid that stuff's like nothing, right? Like it's not hard.
Right.
It's not hard work when you're
They don't get
a
tired.
battle
Yeah.
droid to pick up a box.
Yeah.
They don't get tired. They don't sleep, so they don't care about this. And they are practically immortal, which I guess you never think about. But like, yeah, like they make you do some work for like a human lifetime, which for a droid is like nothing. Then you go off and do something else, and they're fine with it. Like to them, this is kind of the life, which I thought was pretty interesting. And it also this is something we've never seen before, at least not in the movies or the TV shows, which is like droid culture. Like the droids have a culture, like their own culture, just like everyone else. And it's weird and different. And I thought that was interesting. It's not just like, here's the droid bar with all the droid drinks. Like, no, we just have the one drink, which it's oil. That's it.
It's
Why would we drink
Nepenthe.
anything else? What?
It's Nepenthe, you guys. Nepenthe.
They don't have a sense of taste. Why would they care?
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that was the droid take was definitely interesting to me. I wanted more of it. I was expecting like you were saying, based on those comic books, I was expecting like this revolt. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Of them being, you know, not being content with where they're at. But when the droid explained it, I'm like, oh yeah, they're kind of dependent on us. Like, and we live so much short lives, but like, who's going to repair them? Who's
Mm.
going to work on them? Who's going to extend this life that they have? You know, so yeah, I thought it was really cool.
It's a
I
theme that they're building though. Like I do think they're going to
mm,
come back to this because they there's that whole side quest where he tries to bring back what IG
IG-11 or
11,
Right.
IG-88. One or the other. I actually was thinking that they'd revolt as well. Um, but so you do see glimpses of that. Like I think before Mandalorian, um, they brought this in Solo. Like the
Mm.
droid character in Solo, like wanted to bring a revolt and uprising and stuff, and if she was only
Oh
the
yeah,
one
that's right.
in the yeah. Anyways, I thought there was going to be a revolt because I thought it was interesting that they emphasized that the government system or the government model that this planet has is a direct democracy. And like they always talk about the
Right.
direct democracy. And I thought, okay, so this is a commentary of kind of the flaws of this society because like in order for a direct democracy to work, that they need like this kind of this underclass that they don't pay. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, but it wasn't like that. So I thought, okay. But then when he brought it up, it's like, oh, okay, this actually makes sense. Um, it provides them purpose. In many ways, like I thought it was interesting that he said there are originators, like human beings are originators. So like it's in a way that they are grateful for what they do because what did he say? What are we going to do if we don't do this? They're
Right.
going to just send us to the New Republic, and the New Republic is going to throw us into a scrapyard. So it's either this or, and so it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I see that this is a symbiotic relationship between two different cultures, which
Right.
is very interesting. And I was like, oh, okay. This is
Well,
actually cool. So
multiple cultures, right?
yeah,
You've got the humans and other sort of human-like species who live in kind of what we would consider the normal part of the city, right? You've got
right.
the droids. You got, what are they called? The guys who
The Ugnaughts.
who
Yeah, yeah,
spend their
yeah.
time fixing and repairing the droids.
I
And
have
then you've got
spoken.
yeah, and then you've got the Mandalorians who live outside the city, right, and fight. And it's a
Interesting. Yeah.
very complicated multicultural
Yeah.
society
Right, right,
with all
right.
these people living very different lifestyles, right? And they all just kind of do what they're best at, and they do that, and it all kind of works. And I thought that was
Right.
interesting. It avoids the really common and I think boring trope of like, oh, killer robots, right? Like, no, they're not. They're fine. Like they're fine. There's nothing wrong with this. Like just let them do what they do.
Yep.
And I think that's an interesting take, especially given current cultural trends around like AI and stuff. Like everyone's afraid that AI is going to go crazy and kill us, but like why would you assume that? Why do humans assume that every other intelligence out there is going to be evil and want to kill us? Like,
Terminator, Matrix.
yeah,
It's
E-
part of our. It's a part
every
of our
aliens are going to
zeitgeist.
invade us and kill us, right?
Yep. Yep.
But like
We
there's
want them to. That's why we want them to, and
uh,
so that's why.
yeah, like I think it's just like I think it is like a bit of a almost a death wish kind of thing where it's like it's easier for humans to wrap their head around a hostile foreign tribe
Yeah.
than it is for them to wrap their head around like a civilized society, right? It's what was it? C.S. Lewis wrote the Chronicles of Narnia. He had a sci-fi trilogy he wrote, and the premise of that trilogy is that human beings are the evil species. We're the ones who are going to invade other alien species, right? And he drew a direct line from colonialism to that. So basically, he said like this is what's going to happen is if humans gain the ability to travel to other planets, go to other
Colonize.
stars. Yeah, it would literally just be colonialism on steroids. He says, just look at human history, right? And this show kind of takes a similar approach. Was like, no, like it's not the robots that you need to be afraid of, and it's not like the aliens or these different cultures. It's the fascists, I guess. It's the empire. Like they're like in other words, you defeated the empire, but like the ideologues are still there. They're out there, and they're going to try to rebuild it from the inside. They're not coming from the outside. It's not people who look different.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's
it's
interesting. So basically,
it's the humans you need to be afraid
yeah.
of. In
It's
Star
basically
Wars.
it's the Christopher Lloyd of the episode.
Yeah, it's the
that we
Christopher
should be afraid.
Lloyds.
Yeah.
Those are the guys you got to be afraid of.
Yeah.
It's not the
who
Mon
gave laced
Calamari.
Nepenthe to androids. Yeah. Okay. All right.
No, that was an interesting take, and I hope to see more of that. So what I'd really like to talk about though, Bryce Dallas Howard. So she directed this episode. Directed a few other episodes. I was looking at her IMDb page. She hasn't done a whole lot outside of this. She's done she did a music video for M83 for Claudia Lewis, which I didn't know that was her. It's pretty good. She's done a few shorts and stuff, but nothing like huge, and nothing that's gotten they're all well reviewed, but not 100% approval ratings or anything. But good, right? But I do feel looking at, because the reviews for her episodes of The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett were these are all 98 to 100% approval ratings from critics. Yeah. And I would have thought looking at that, oh, well, it's a TV show. She's probably just coming in and directing it, but everything's already written, right, and set up. So it's probably not that hard. But we've seen other episodes directed by other directors like Robert Rodriguez, and they were not as good, by a mile, right? And so I do wonder, even though she's still primarily an actor, right? I do wonder if is this a case of a director sort of finding their thing? In other words, you can give her a good script and then hand her $100 million and put her on a set with 100 people, right? And stunt people. Because that's a skill in itself, is just being able to manage a Hollywood production on that scale. And she will come back with, Hollywood. It'll look good, it'll sound great, it'll be well edited, the pacing will be great, right? Everything will be shot well. Because that's what my takeaway from this episode is I think the script was probably good when it was handed to her. But the pacing of this episode is flawless. Yeah. It looks good. And they're spending the same amount on each episode, right? So why do her episodes look so freaking good? Right. And I think it's mainly because she just knows how to use what she's given, right? At least that's my takeaway. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on this, because I feel I'm wondering when they're going to give her a trilogy or something at this point.
Who knows, man? I feel that the cliched expression is true here. The fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. Apparently she grew up.
She's Ron Howard's daughter, and
right. Yeah. Spoiler alert! No one knew that. She's Ron Howard's daughter. But I guess there's pictures of her just following Ron Howard everywhere in his projects, right? So there was some kind of osmosis that
she's
seen
this stuff from the day she was born.
That's right.
She knows this industry inside it out,
exactly.
Almost nobody would.
The thing is, for her, it's just a natural talent because she's seen it. She just that looks normal to her.
Right.
Well, everyone else is dude, that's freaking amazing. Well, no, this is how it's supposed to look. What are you talking about?
My dad did this. Come on.
This is just basic.
This is
I'm
just
not doing much.
Yeah.
This is what it's supposed to look like, dude.
Yeah.
That's what a good show looks like. No, but you're right, Jordan. Because in my mind, when you brought that up, I was thinking, well, and no, this does not discredit her at all or take anything away from her, but she's been given solid episodes. This is a good episode.
Yeah.
But she made it better. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if she did if she tweaked a little bit, it would have been a horrible episode, right? It could have been a joke with Jack Black and Lizzo being in it, but it wasn't, right? It didn't take away from it. It didn't take away from the moment or the grandeur of what was going on. They added character to what was supposed to be the side quest, and they made it bigger than what it was. She made it a bigger deal than what it was supposed to be.
Right.
So that's a credit to her. And I think anybody else might have ruined the episode with that. We have this great episode, but we're giving you two comics, a singer, and this washed up old Back to the Future guy. Make it work. And they would have blew it. But she made it fit perfectly. Right. And it looked great. So
could you imagine Robert Rodriguez helming this episode?
his pulpy, low budget version of Star Wars.
Vespas. I want Star Wars Vespas here and here and here.
I mean, we've seen how he shoots a chase scene, right, where everyone's driving 5 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh!
On their scooters.
On Vespas. Yeah.
This was literally they just chasing a robot on foot, and it was this is great. You know what's interesting
Right.
about it is this is not too far from what they did in Kenobi, right? That where he goes to that planet that's like a city. So like again, like it's not that far off from it, but in this take on it just looks so much better, right? And just
Right.
feels so much more real, right? And I think that is probably like that's what a skilled directorial hand does is take all those elements and really make it sing, you know. So I mean, God, like I said, 10 minutes of just like Blade Runner. And then it, you know, it goes from like, here's a funny scene with Jack Black. Now they're chasing down a robot, right? And it's like, it's super intense, right? Now they're going to this bar. Like, a lot of, yeah, these elements probably shouldn't have hung together as well as they did, but somehow it all, that
Right.
tone, the tone is just really, it all comes together consistently through the episode.
Right.
Um,
I got something to talk about if we're done with this topic though.
sure.
I just want to one final thought. I
No,
agree
go
with
ahead.
you, Jordan. I think that it seems like this was kind of like her residency. If she didn't do a whole lot, it's kind of like her internship. Like the Mandalorian series, we've seen. It's just impressive what she could do. I wouldn't be surprised that they offer her like a trilogy gig or like a full length
Or a movie,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think she has the chops for it. I'm
now that
confident of it. Yeah.
now that she's finally done with your favorite movie series, Jurassic World, she'll have some time to move on to other things.
Oh man, she was just
Yeah.
a delight in that show.
I'm sure you'll miss that, Simon.
But hey, you know what? Like I figured, like she tried acting, right? But maybe she found her passion.
Well,
Maybe it's
okay.
behind
Right.
it.
I like is that she tried acting. Like
I think so.
she
I
hasn't
think
been a
so.
professional working actor for like 20 years.
No, true, but like I just think that because I remember her in the Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I remember her in an M. Night Shyamalan film, and then it's the Jurassic stuff. That's what I remember
Yeah.
her in, you know. And
That's
so
right. I
just
remember her from the M Night Shyamalan. That's like I was just like,
The
who's this
Village.
redhead? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Like,
right, The
it's
Village.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally forgot about The Village.
Yeah, so I was, and like, but I wonder if her joy or her skill set, her passion is behind the camera. Anyways,
Right.
I'm happy for her. I would love to see more of her work, and I would love to see her do an actual Star Wars full length feature film or just any feature length film because I think
Right.
she does a good job.
So I think that um, this big rumor that we heard a while ago, and I brought it up, but I don't know. We heard that Kathleen Kennedy plans on residing after Indiana Jones. What if she takes Kathleen Kennedy's role?
Like as
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
I mean-
or she would want to stick to directing?
I think she should stick to directing.
I think she has the talent
Yeah.
for directing, yeah. I mean,
Dave Filoni or what's his other name? Not Robert Downey Jr.
Favreau?
Favreau, yeah.
Yeah, Favreau. If one of them take, or if they both take the helm,
I mean,
and then
being a producer is obviously a whole other thing from like directing. That said, Favreau probably could do it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
As a producer, like he's got the connections, he's got the history in Hollywood, he's got the experience. He's basically a producer on Mandalorian at this point, right? Because he hasn't
he
directed.
does that
anything
now. Yeah,
himself.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
He kind of creates a story arc with Filoni, and then he's like, "Here's some of the greatest directors we got right now ever. I got them for you guys. You're welcome."
I mean, there are definitely worse choices than Favreau, right? Especially, yeah. I mean, sounds like Feige's not going anywhere.
Right.
And I mean,
Yeah, they're probably like, Feige, you got to focus on Marvel. Like, I'm sorry, I know we promised you this, but we're in the hole right
fix
now
this.
with Marvel. Get us out.
I mean, it would definitely be interesting if that were the turn things took. I mean, that's basically what happened with James Gunn and DC, right? Like, here's a director who proved himself and across multiple mediums, television and film, right? People like working with him, right? So like he can hire people, he can get people in the door and build an organization, right? Yeah, Jon Favreau could probably do that. It would be interesting to see him go from like directing Iron Man and Iron Man 2 to then quitting because what's his the witch
Oh, Perlmutter.
Perlmutter didn't like the direction he was going with things,
Right.
and then he ends up just running Star Wars. That would be amazing.
Ultimate slap in the face, right? To Perlmutter.
And honestly, I love the chef show. He seems like
Yeah.
a really chill dude.
Yep.
So
Yep.
couldn't happen to a
Dude.
nicer person.
I I'm disappointed I haven't seen a new season in like a year and a half already. Like
Well,
what the heck happened, dude? Is it
I
done?
he's no, he's doing Mandalorian 3. That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know.
Sheesh, dude. It was such a good show, man. I loved it. Okay, so back to my question. Um, and I kind of alluded this, and this is why I'm just kind of like tooting my own horn a little bit, but uh, I alluded to this earlier, saying that um, they're gonna phase out Din Djarin and put another Mandalorian just because it's a Mandalorian tile, and I feel like that's going on now. I feel like Din Djarin's like the ultimate wingman. Like the story's not focused on him at all. He's just like the Robin of the show, right? And there's really no story arc building on him other than he's just a great guy, a nice guy, and he's doing the right thing. We're really building on Bo-Katan since episode 1, kind of, right?
I don't think they're gonna do it that way. I mean, I could see them maybe ending the Mandalorian after one more season or something, right? Because obviously they can't just do the Mandalorian forever. Um, I suspect, if anything, what they would do is they would just give Bo-Katan her own show, right?
Mm,
Maybe that's what
I'm
Bryce
not caught
Dallas
in
Howard should
anywhere.
be doing. Should be show running the Bo-Katan show. Because I mean, obviously, at some point they got to wrap up his story, right? I mean, I don't know if they had any plans originally. It seems like all of this was like loosely planned out. Looking back at the 3 seasons, right? That this is always the direction they were going to go. And at some point, maybe the Mandalorian story is complete, and he's kicked off a bunch of other stories, right? They're reclaiming Mandalore, stuff like that, and they continue with other shows. I mean, obviously, with season 2, they tried to launch some other shows. What? Which one? Which ones were they? It was what's her face?
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. What else was like a backdoor pilot?
There's this kid one that's coming out by
Skeleton
Web.
Crew.
Skeleton Crew. There you
okay.
go.
So like, but they haven't actually like started any of those yet. So I don't know. Maybe are they actually going to do that? They tried to launch Boba Fett. Didn't turn out so hot, but they did make it. um, if it were better, I think people would be more excited to see more of that, right?
Sure.
Right.
So that's the biggest risk. Is they have one show that's pretty popular and they just keep making it because it's the only one. They do need to launch. I think they need to launch something else for the sake of the brand.
Yeah.
Like, if you want Star Wars to continue mattering, you need to make something beyond the Mandalorian, whatever that is. I don't know. I don't think they're just going to run the Mandalorian forever, but I do think you're not wrong that he's not. The story isn't really about him, right? He's playing a supporting role right now. It's weird that I don't mind it, and I guess it's because it feels like he fits this role really well, right?
Right. Right.
Kind of like a knight. If she's
Yeah.
basically if Bo-Katan is going to be the queen, right? Then he's like a knight. That's kind of like the spot he seems to want to take because he doesn't want to be in charge
Wow.
of anything.
That would be really cool to see, actually. He's just like, he's doing all the dirty work.
Right.
And he
Yeah,
doesn't mind it.
the most loyal knight, right? Yeah,
Yes.
like a Sir
He's-
Galahad.
Yeah, he's like her right hand man, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's good at the stuff that she's apparently bad at, and she's
Yeah.
good at the stuff that he's
Right.
bad at. So it
Right.
works.
Dude, what if they get married, bro? What if they have a relationship?
See, I've been thinking
I don't think
there
so.
is a moment in the show where like she gives him like this look of admiration, right? When she's like, okay, maybe
Right.
he's not as useless as I thought, right? I don't know though. That just feels so weird. Just the
You know
nature
what,
of the
dude?
show.
I never even thought of that until this moment right now about
Really?
Mandalorian having a relationship with anybody.
Well, dude, he literally has a relationship in season 1, and then he chooses to leave the woman
Right.
behind and go on the.
Right. And for that reason, I was just like, oh, he's devout. He's
Yeah,
very
no.
like he's on it. He's not.
Yeah, but
not even thinking about
if she, I mean, to be fair, if she is a Mandalorian, and if she becomes, I guess, the Queen of Mandalore or whatever, right? I feel like that aligns with his interests. I've been thinking about it the whole time, like, could they actually do that? I feel like the way this show is structured, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. But I don't know. They've surprised me a couple times, so who knows?
Yeah.
I always feel that he's basically the wandering gunslinger kind of trope. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not meant to stay at one place, but he's Yeah. So I don't think that's
I
gonna
think when he
happen.
chooses to stay somewhere, when he chooses to stop wandering, right, is when his story ends.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing,
that's a good point.
right?
That's a good
So
point.
Can
like,
you wander with a child like that for very long though?
well, not forever, right? That's the
Right. He's
point.
gonna
Yeah,
have to
the
settle
child's gonna grow
down.
up, right?
That's
But
that's the narrative tension in his story, right? Which is like he is this wandering knight, but he's got a child, so at some point he has to go somewhere, right? And how long can he do that? You know, he can't do it
Right.
forever, especially because
One of
he's
them's gonna
going to
have to
get
die.
older and his child is going to get marginally older very slowly.
at a
Yeah,
factor of 50.
Right.
I think for it to work, one of them's gonna have to die
Yeah,
for them to move on.
I think you're right. I think you're right. But
Or
But
I
again, like
he
expect that.
settles
I
he
expect
settles
that.
Mandalore, and that's where Grogu grows up for 800 years. Right.
right. And they got a good Grogu story. I mean, this thing could live on for another 600 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they can move well into the future and still have a Jedi Mandalorian that's Grogu.
I mean, so this is something they're going to get back to at some point, right? Because like with the sequel trilogy, they kind of just like they tease this idea of like gray Jedi and yellow lightsabers, kind of at the very, very, very end, right? A little bit disappointing because I think originally that was supposed to be a central theme of the third movie until they scrapped the original script. At some point, you know they're going to get back to that, and all the kids who grew up watching grew up with the sequel trilogy are going to like be in their later teens and they're going to be young adults and they're going to go back into those characters, right? Just like they've done for every other movie. So at some point, we're going to see Rey again. I'm confident of that in this franchise as like a gray Jedi, right? Like as a fully formed gray Jedi. I think that's going to happen in the next 10 years or something, right?
I think that's what we'll see in Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka is a gray
Okay.
Jedi. So I
And
think you're right.
yeah, and Grogu fits into that theme of
Yep.
Jedi. Well, I mean, Force users who are not Jedi, right? That's the thing. Force users who are not Jedi. I think that's maybe the. I guess it's something that pops up every now and then that's never really been delved into. What if people stop giving up their Force sensitive children to the Jedi to be raised by weird monks far away,
I
and just
I don't
just
think we'll
join
see
them
Rey in
themselves?
Ahsoka, Simon. I don't think we'll see Rey in Ahsoka.
Not in Mandalorian. I just think in regards to the Star Wars universe as a whole, I
Oh,
feel
okay,
I
okay.
feel that
Sorry, I thought you
what
said we'll
Jordan
see
is
Ahsoka.
saying is actually
You
I
think
think we'll see
Ahsoka is
that.
going to become a gray Jedi essentially?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think she essentially is already,
Right.
you know.
Yeah,
So
I could see that.
So yeah, we're over 40 minutes now. It's supposed to be 30 minutes, but we just had so much to talk about.
indeed.
Yeah, it's a great
It's a good
episode, man.
episode.
I think we're what 3 more episodes out before it's done.
Yeah,
This
which
is episode
means
5.
100% we're not going to see any battle for Mandalore
No.
in this season.
No,
Not
No.
with 3 episodes left.
No.
right? No.
It would be
Well,
too much
we
of a
could be
rush.
wrong. We could be wrong because we didn't think Din Djarin's going to be cleansed and back into Mandalorian
With like one, yeah.
races so quick. We thought it was going to take the whole season to do it.
How
And
about this? I'd be a little disappointed if they squeeze it all into like just the last episode.
I
of
would
this
be
season.
too.
I
I would
feel
be
like
too.
that would be a little underwhelming after
I-
all this build up.
If they do that, I would be disappointed as well because like then my question is, well, what are they going to do in season 4? You know what I'm saying?
I can tell you what I hope happens, right? I hope that they either do it in season 4 or they do like a movie and they have Bryce Dallas Howard direct it. Right? I want to see that. I want them to give her like $150
Disney?
million.
You hear that? You hear that? Right from the secret hideout podcast.
Well, I mean, these are bankable stars,
Yeah.
Right.
like for movies, not just TV. They got like real A-list people in this now, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they would all have been considered A-listers when the series began, but at this point,
Right.
at least a couple of them are. So, like, they could do it. I'm sure they could do it.
I agree. I think
it would
that's
make,
Dude.
I
I
think it would
think
make money.
this is for Simon, not Jordan, because he refuses to watch the animation. But how dope would it be to see Ahsoka and Bo-Katan again battle it out?
who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I like you say maybe you weren't alluding to it, but like what if Ahsoka shows up like in the final few episodes of this season? You know what I'm saying? Just to bring the gang back together kind of thing. You know,
Right.
that would be freaking dope. And like John Favreau did this, right? Like there, Katie Sackhoff tells a story. I just saw it on a YouTube Shorts, but Katie Sackhoff told a story about Filoni, how like Filoni was lying to her, saying like, yeah, the Jedi that comes in saving the day is Plo Koon, and is this all? She believed it, and then she finally sees the episode. It's like, wait, this isn't Plo Koon. What the F, Filoni? You know, and like I just feel that. I feel that they do. I feel that they are able to, keep secrets. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be very surprised and thrilled and ecstatic if I saw Rosario Dawson Ahsoka towards the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? Because it could work. I think it would be great.
Yeah, I think because maybe you guys are right. I think at the end of the season, we're not gonna get the battle. We're just gonna see who's the puppet master.
Yeah.
Of this whole thing.
Right.
And then season 4 will lead into the Battle of Mandalore.
Shucks, they still haven't showed Moff Gideon yet, and like Giancarlo Esposito was like promoting Mandalorian 3. So like
he's in it at some point.
He's in it at some point, right? And it's like we're finished over half of it. So like, but
So it sounds like, all right, we want Jon Favreau to take over Star Wars as producer of Star
100%.
Wars, to be the Feige of Star Wars, and we want Bryce Dallas Howard to be given a movie or a 100%. TV show or something.
She's going to be the new Favreau. She's going to be the new Favreau.
She's the new Favreau.
Setting up the new, for sure.
That'd be great.
Okay. And then we want, maybe 1 or 2 more scenes of The Mandalorian, but it sounds like we're going to want...
a movie.
Okay, one last thing I take away from this episode. They're doing a pretty good job in The Mandalorian of world building, right? Where they take us to new places, and they're actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Like the prequels went to a lot of different places, but they all just kind of look like CG nonsense, right? Like here's a planet with giant pink flowers, or it's just like random stuff, right?
Here's a planet with a giant hole in the middle.
Right. Whereas this one is like we've seen like a Dyson ring, right, in that one episode of the Book of Boba Fett, which looked super cool. Now we go to this other planet, it's like a big dome, and it's all robots running everything, right? Like every place has been kind of cool and interesting. So continue the world building. If they can keep that up with Ahsoka, right, and whatever other shows spin off of this, presumably some sort of Mandalorian related thing is going to spin off of this. I think they might have a franchise here. And I don't even know that it's funny, they haven't made a movie in a while, and I don't know that I even really want one right now.
Right. I think you're right. Like,
if we're gonna get a movie, it's gonna be in the way of like connecting these shows in a big budget way, like we thought. Like you guys are saying, we're gonna connect all these different shows in one movie. So it'll be Ahsoka, it'll be Mandalorian, and whatever Skull Kids. What is it? Skull Kids?
Skeleton Crew.
Kids. What?
It's gonna tie in all these shows in in a big budget, big film way.
You know what's crazy? Back in the day, I'll finish with this. But back in the day when Marvel started and they did the TV shows, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was supposed to prep for us to the next movie. That's it. That's exactly what they did in one season. Like the Phil Coulson character, he's like behind the scenes. He acts really weird, but what he's doing is he's building the hover carriers that they have in Age of Ultron. And I was like, there was that sense of excitement, of expectation, of waiting to see from the shows what will happen in a big movie. They did that back in the day with the prequel trilogies, with the micro series. They did the cartoon of Grievous being so awesome, and then like in episode 3, they just pooped him up. You know what I'm saying? Just like they just utterly embarrassed him, and it's just like, where's the connection here? If they do it well, I think we could see that happening now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they'll have this setup of character development and all this, the intrigue and all that in the shows. And then you want the big battle in a movie. You know what I'm saying? I think...
You know what? What's funny, dude, is Dave Filoni was the one that was doing all that too. So he's well aware of what he's doing.
Great. So maybe that's what they're going to do.
Right. Yeah.
And Bryce Dallas Howard is going to direct.
All right.
So I think we're all excited. we can't wait. 3 more episodes to the finale. Share your comments, what you guys think. Maybe there's some things we missed. We're not too deep into the Star Wars lore or the canon of that is Star Wars. Share with us, let us know. But with that, we're out of here.